Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So yesterday a video popped up on YouTube where Katie Porter, a US representative from California, was questioning Jamie Dimon and telling him why he should be increasing his starting wages from $16.50 an hour. Jamie Dimon is the chairman and CEO of JP Chase Bank. She listed a bunch of expenses a single mother has and used that as an argument to why he needs to increase wages. I'm going to play the first few minutes of the video for you, and you can check the link in the description to see the last part of it. This is from MSNBC.
It happened again. Freshman Congresswoman Katie Porter did it again. She is a freshman Democrat in the House of Representatives who you have met on this program before. And for the last couple of months, Washington lobbyists have had fair warning of what they have to prepare their clients for when their clients testify before Katie Porter. Jamie Dimon is the head of JP Chase Bank. He makes $31 million a year. He pays Washington lobbyists millions and millions and millions of dollars to handle his lobbying interests in Washington and to prepare him specifically for things like testifying to Congress. But lobbyists cannot anticipate Katie Porter. She represents the 45th Congressional District in California, with Irvine as her biggest city, and so she began her questioning of Jamie Dimon this way.
I went to Monster.com and I found a job in my hometown of Irvine at JP Chase. It pays $16.50 an hour.
The lobbyists never saw that one coming. Katie Porter then did the math on what that income would be on an annual basis, and for a hypothetical job applicant who is a single mother with one child, that job would leave her with $29,100 a year after taxes. Jamie Dimon is no doubt good at math, but he's not used to working with such tiny numbers. And so Katie Porter laid out what the financial life looks like of someone getting an entry-level job in the company where Jamie Dimon makes $31 million.
Not just someone, a single mother.
She had $2,425 a month. She rents a one-bedroom apartment. She and her daughter sleep together in the same room. In Irvine, California, that average one-bedroom apartment is going to be $1,600. She spends $100 on utilities. Take away the $1,700, and she has net $725. She's like me. She drives a 2008 minivan and has gas, $400 for car expenses and gas, net $325. The Department of Agriculture says a low-cost food budget, that is ramen noodles, a low food budget is $400. That leaves her $77 in the red. She has a Cricket cell phone, the cheapest cell phone she can get for $40. She's in the red $117 a month. She has after-school childcare because the bank is open during normal business hours. That's $450 a month. That takes her down to negative $567 per month. My question for you, Mr. Dimon, is how should she manage this budget shortfall while she's working full-time at your bank?
And then Jamie Dimon deflected the question a bit, and then his answer finally came down to, I don't know.
She's short $567. What would you suggest she do?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Would you recommend that she take out a JP Chase credit card and run a deficit?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Would you recommend that she overdraft at your bank and be charged overdraft fees?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Katie Porter gave Jamie Dimon all the time in the world, and it never occurred to him that maybe he could pay that worker an extra $567 a month. It never occurred to him that maybe he could take $567 a month less in income so that a struggling worker at the bottom of his payroll could survive. If questions like this were on the SATs, Jamie Dimon would not be sitting where he's sitting today. Katie Porter was asking a math question and a humanity question rolled into one, and Jamie Dimon and his lobbyists flunked. Katie Porter persisted until Jamie Dimon became speechless.
She's still short $567, as are all of your employees in Irvine.
Not all of them, only single mothers. I'll explain.
Any ideas? Okay, moving on.
And we're going to move on to Congresswoman Katie Porter after this break.
Yeah, so if you want to, there's another 3 minutes and 20 seconds of this if you want to check it out. Links in the description below. But so in my mind, this is, I guess, completely socialist proposition, and she's trying to use force to argue with him on why he should be raising wages and using a single mother as an example. Instead of letting the free market do its thing, wages are created from a free market or supply and demand. If someone doesn't like working for $16.50 an hour, they can leave and find another job. Then two things happen. One, either someone else will come in and they'll be willing to work for $16.50 an hour, or no one will come in because the pay is too low compared to other jobs, leading Jamie to increase his wages and benefits. That's how the free market economy works in relation to wages. Now, the problem with Katie's argument is that her expenses are so damn high, which I'll talk about more about why that is in a minute. But first, what happens when someone's expenses are higher than a fellow employee? Well, for one, as seen here, the person with higher monthly expenses will argue for higher pay, and her employer will end up seeing this as her being argumentative and difficult, meaning that she'll be less likely to get a raise or take on more responsibilities at work because she's not very cooperative. Compared to another employee whose monthly expenses are much lower and they can survive pretty well on $16.50 an hour. Also, I didn't really listen to the expenses that she listed out because my point isn't really around that. And I'm not familiar with California. Maybe it's expensive, maybe it's not. $1,600 a month for rent is quite high. I know I don't live in the richest part of the world or whatever, but my rent's 1-bedroom apartment, which is decent place, is $500 a month. So anyway, getting back to the point, since that employee can sustain themselves at that wage at $16.50, they are more likely to stick with that job because they don't really need more money. With doing so, while sticking to that job, they'll learn more about the company and gain more experience and get better at doing their job. This will lead them to taking on more responsibility, being seen as being responsible and everything, and then getting promotions and moving up the corporate ladder, so to say, which will increase their wages. Anyone who believes in hard work and acting responsibly, behaving responsibly, would do the same thing. Then at that point, that's when they may decide to have children if they want, since they're being responsible and didn't have children they couldn't afford. And if all goes well, that trait of hard work, dedication, and responsibility will be passed on to their children, as that is a behavior that their parents modeled to them. So speaking of children, that is in fact the problem that I see with Katie Porter's hypothetical argument. Her hypothetical person is a single mother with a single income and living in a really expensive part of California, or like California even at all. Now, I don't know how this hypothetical single mother got pregnant, but there's a great likelihood that I can argue is because she wasn't acting responsibly and not being responsible for her own actions. Like, did she not have the choice to have a child? Did she have no choice on who to have a child with? Like, where's the father? Where is the income from a second parent? Did the two not talk about having a kid and plan it out before having a kid? Was she just sleeping with him because she was attracted to him, because he was charismatic, because he's the only one that put up with her bullshit nonsense? Did she not get to know this guy before having unprotected sex? There's a lot of red flags that you could easily pick out in people. But what I'm getting at here is the solution isn't to argue with people to increase your wage, but to be more responsible and don't become a single mother. I think that's the best solution to this. Instead of setting an example to her children and other Americans that they can do whatever they want with their life because you can always force someone to give you what you want and make things better. And what I mean by this is trying to force your bosses and argue with them to increase your wages because of your lack of responsibility and hindsight, forethought, whatever the one it is, lack of planning. I really think some of these Democrats do need to relabel themselves as socialists when running for political positions. Anyway, if she didn't get herself into this mess of raising a child without a father and without enough income, she wouldn't need to argue any of this. Then she could, with having two incomes and being more stable at home, she can afford to work that job and move up in the corporate ladder if that's what she wishes to do. Though I don't really agree working a full-time job is the best thing to do when you're raising children. But yeah, just imagine how wonderful things would be if the family had a second income. Even if the woman worked a part-time job while the husband worked that $16.50 an hour job, it would significantly close the financial deficit the hypothetical woman is in. Then, since she is part-time, she would have time for household chores, and she wouldn't have to give her child to a strange daycare every day while she goes out and works to make ends meet. You also save money because you don't have to pay for daycare or to hire a maid to clean your house or do any of that stuff. You don't have to worry about a maid robbing you either, so that's something not on your mind all the time, taking up your mental capacity, so then you can have more mental energy to focus on your part-time job or your family or whatever you choose to. Not to mention all the psychological benefits children get from a nuclear family with a mother and a father. For one, like the father is much stronger than the woman and can ward off predators. I see like a lot of child abuse happens. The children of a single mother, they end up finding some shitty boyfriend who doesn't give a shit about her kids because they're not her own, and end up abusing the kids physically, mentally, sexually. I've seen it quite a bit. And if the child is a girl, if there's a father around, she won't be seeking sexual relationships with men that are older than her to make up for a lack of a father figure in her childhood. And if it's a boy, he'll learn how to be a man from his own father instead of being lost all of his life and join gangs or get aggressive or think that relationships will never work out and a ton of stuff. So in my opinion, increasing wages to support single mothers is just a travesty to society and won't lead anywhere good. I understand that single mothers are in a bad position, and I totally sympathize with them, but I don't think they should partake in actions that will encourage more single mothers in the future. I think single mothers should tell their children what went wrong in their relationships with their fathers so their children don't end up repeating the same life that they did, and don't use force to make up for your own lack of responsibility. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.